Courtside Conversations.
Courtside Conversations.
The Roland-Garros Tennis Podcast.
Hello and welcome to Courtside Conversations, the official Roland-Garros podcast. I'm Gigi, Salmon, and together with special guests, we're going to be keeping you company throughout the year. Tennis, as we like to say, with a French twist. And with the final Grand Slam of the year finished and new champions crowned, I'm very happy to say that with me to look back on a busy couple of weeks in Flushing Meadows and to what lies ahead is former US Open and Wimbledon finalist, former world number 5, Cédric Pioline. Cedric, welcome to the podcast. It's lovely to have you with us.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm very happy to share this moment with you and to speak about game of tennis.
Now, let me ask you, how has your summer been? Were you watching a little bit of the Olympics or did you take a little bit of time away?
You know what? I'm a real Parisian, so I wanted to go away for this Olympics because I'm sure it's been very crowded and very busy. But so I preferred to follow the Olympics through TV, which was more convenient, and I think you have much more like infos on the images.
And I think what was amazing from a tennis point of view at the Olympics and what came across on television was the emotion of Novak Djokovic achieving what has been a life's dream. This was the only thing missing from the Djokovic trophy cabinet.
Yeah, you're definitely right. And I think it's even more impressive if we look back a little bit because he played the French Open, he hurt his knee, had a surgery, and then played Wimbledon, went to a final, and finally switched surface to go from grass to clay and to win that trophy. I think it was amazing, but also he probably spent a lot of energy, and it's why for the US Open, he was a bit down.
And I think maybe we could say the same for Carlos Alcaraz, who was so emotional. He cried in an interview with Alex Corretja when he got the silver. And I mean, these emotions, they take their toll on the mind and the body.
Oh, yeah, completely. I mean, we all know, I mean, tennis season is pretty heavy already with 4 majors, all the tournaments. And when you're adding every 4 years, the Olympics, it's very demanding physically and mentally. And I think we could see, I mean, the 2 guys who played the final, Alcaraz and Djokovic, couldn't perform in US summer. So yeah, it's very demanding.
And how tough is that to change surfaces in a short space of time, especially going from the clay, going back to the hard courts?
I think it's a bit easier or better in this time now comparing to the time I was playing, because it was much more differences between the surfaces, grass, clay, hard court. Now it's about the same speed, I would say, but it's still a challenge to do these switches because you have always to adapt and to adapt your game, adapt the way you move, the sliding, and all these elements which are very difficult to always adapt yourself to the condition.
But it's crazy to see the modern day player sliding around a hard court because there wasn't that much sliding when you guys were playing on the hard.
It make me laugh because when I see these guys sliding on let's say grass or even worse on hard court, I mean, I would definitely twist my ankle or my knee or something. But now I don't know how they manage to do it and to keep the balance. And I mean, it's like super hard. Maybe we don't really realize what these guys are doing on court now, because physically, it's been a big improvement in let's say the past 20 years.
Well, let me look back to when you were playing, and we're going to talk about the US Open. So I'd like to take you back to 1993 when you got to the final of the US Open. What do you remember of that tournament? What do you remember of that run to the final?
First thing I have to say is I don't know if you realize it, but we're going to talk about the last century, which is weird to me. But I guess I belong to that century, so the 90s. But no, it's such a good memory. I mean, I remember that I was like underdog, of course, obviously, and I was 16 seeded, and I had very tough start of a tournament with two 5 sets for the first 2 rounds, and then I don't know if the confidence came, and I felt better and better. And the big match was in fourth round against Jim Courier, who was number one at the time, and I always lost to him, maybe 4, 5, 6 times, and I don't know, the magic was there, and I managed to beat him and to go through the finals. As we're saying, I was in the zone, and I was not thinking too much and just like playing round by round to play the final. But then when I played Pete, which was not number one, but like in process to be number one. Then the pressure was there and knock at my door.
What was it like the night before, the walking out as a Grand Slam finalist?
I would say the night before was okay because I played, if I remember well, I played the second semi-final, and also at this time it was the super, I don't remember how they called it, super weekend, super Saturday. And we had to play on the semi-final on Saturday and the final on the Sunday. So I didn't have much time to really think, but we played in the old stadium, and it was we had to walk between the lockers to the center court in the middle of a crowd with like a ambience of I would say boxing match, like with this energy we can feel in New York with all these American people super excited, like, hey, the Frenchie, they didn't know me very well, but you can do it. It's your day. I mean, and it was amazing, but also, wow, I felt I was not prepared to that, and I really felt the pressure, and I didn't play a very good match during the final because I was tight.
And then 1997, the Wimbledon final, it was Pete Sampras again. Was it a different feeling in that the crowd was a little bit more neutral? You didn't have that sort of the American crowd there. How was that final in comparison?
Very, very different because the atmosphere and the ambience are very, very different from US Open to Wimbledon. It's more like a church ambience in Wimbledon, which is also amazing. I mean, I'm saying that in the good way, and all this tradition, and it was fantastic. I really, so it was like 4 years after my US Open final, playing the same guy. I don't like this guy, Pete Sampras. I don't like him at all. So I have to say it. And I mean, obviously, he was a better tennis player than me. And this year, I remember he reached the final, losing his serve only once in the semi-final against Todd Woodbridge. He was on fire. He was playing unbelievable, serving unbelievable. And I had a big problem when I was playing Pete. It's like I couldn't read his serve. And it was obviously a big problem, especially on grass. And I had the feeling that maybe I could win, but then he cooled me down and beat me in 3 sets.
I think you talked about the different atmospheres. When you speak to some people, they really struggle in New York. They struggle with the noise. They struggle with the smells. They struggle with the bus from Manhattan. Was it the same when you were playing, that there were players who just didn't like the intensity of New York?
Yeah, I guess the first year or first 2 years when I played in the US Open, it bothered me a bit because you have all, as you said, the noise, the smells, the music, the airplanes, a lot of different things. You once again, as a tennis player professional, you need to adapt to the condition. And but then when you have the ability to use that energy, it's amazing because it's like really pushing you and give you something extra in your game and in your energy. So I really enjoyed and like to play in New York. Like I really enjoy and like to play in Wimbledon. And I think the four majors have their own identity. And it's what is very interesting is like when you go somewhere is like a renew, like a renewal always.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think someone who really used that energy to her advantage this year was Aryna Sabalenka. She was a huge favorite. Last year, she struggled against Goff in the final with the crowd and the noise. How impressed were you with Aryna Sabalenka this year?
I love that girl. I like the way she's playing. She's very offensive, and I like her personality. I think she's like a bit of she has something like a sunshine. Like she's having something. She's smiling. You can see she's like enjoying so much to play, and of course she's struggling with her emotions. And she said it like she have sometimes troubles to control them, but it's very impressive the way she improved in the past 2 to 3 years to win her first major back in Australian Open, then again Australian Open, and now US Open. And I think it's very good for women tennis to have like players like her and battling with Iga Swiatek. I mean, you need to appreciate a player. You need to have opponents, and it's what competition and emulation is very good. And I think it's what is happening in women's tennis, and I think it's very positive.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we take a listen to the US Open champion, she talks about how she used the experience from losing in last year's final.
Honestly, I thought that I will be thinking a lot about previous years here because I had a lot of tough lessons here at the US Open. Very difficult one, I would say, especially the last year. But honestly, today I was just keep reminding myself that this is the US Open final. Of course, it's going to fight really hard for it, and it's not going to be easy. And I have to work really hard to get it. And in those tough moments, I was just, like trying to stay strong and trying to remind myself that I've been through a lot and I'm strong enough to hold under this pressure. So I'm actually really glad that I didn't have any feedbacks in the last year.
I think that's a perfect example of, as you were saying, Cedric, that she learns and she develops, and she took what last year was quite difficult for her, and she used that atmosphere, the experience, as a positive.
Oh, definitely. I mean, as you say, this experience is a big value, and I think when you're losing, if you're smart enough, there is a lot to learn and to use for next matches or next next matches. So I think it's very. I think she's smart, and like the very high level when you like her in the top 2 to 3 players in the world. And player on a regular basis, the last rounds of the majors, it's about details.
Is there anyone better in the women's game on a hard court at the moment than Aryna Sabalenka?
That's a difficult question because I think Coco Gauff is a top player as well. She already won US Open last year, and she's very athletic. She have a huge potential, and it's always difficult to compare, players. But I think of course she's one of the best, if not the best player on hard court, because she's tall, she's very powerful for a woman, and yeah, she's moving very good, and as we said, she have experience now, and she's the more you win, the more confidence you have. So, which is very important to create a positive cycle.
Let's have another quick listen to Sabalenka. She was asked what's next for her and if she's thinking about being the world number one again.
I mean, I'm not trying to focus on ranking, to be honest. Not like I'm, checking where I'm going to be after the tournament. And I'm just trying to focus on myself. And I know that if on each tournament I'll be able to play my best tennis, and I'll be able to bring this fight spirit on each game, I'll be able to become world number one again. So my focus is on myself, on improving myself as the player and as a person. And yeah, hopefully one day I'll see myself on the top of the ranking.
And I think when it comes to how she played and who she beat, she was up against Jessie Pegula, 30 years of age, American, in her first Grand Slam final. And I don't know, she goes to show that if you work hard enough, it's taken her a long time, but if you work hard enough and she's very dedicated, you can get to the very top.
Oh yeah. It's of course it's about talents, skills, but also a lot about work. And if you want to be a top player and to play these last rounds of finals of a major, you need to work very hard, and also to be consistent. Sometimes you have surprises on certain edition of majors, but you could see like Pegula and Sabalenka, they were the two players dominating the US summer, with winning the big tournaments before the US Open. So, which is very good for confidence. And she, even if she's 30 years old, she have to, keep working hard and to learn and to have experience. And I hope for her, she will be again in that position and maybe to win.
Let me ask you, her only two defeats in this US Open series were to Sabalenka. When you don't have a power game, you don't have that type of power, how do you counter the power from Sabalenka? What can someone like Pegula to do to deal with the power that's coming at her?
Every player his own identity of playing a game, and like Sabalenka, she have her skills, but a lady like Pegula could probably also use the pace. Use the pace is very, very interesting, because sometimes you have someone who have more power than yourself, and you can turn it against your opponents, because you're using the pace, you're using the speed of the ball. And if you in good shape, physically, and you're everywhere, you're covering your court, then you're pushing the other one to try to hit harder and to hit closer to the lines, and suddenly it's out. And then but like a tennis match, of course, the ladies, they play in the best of 3, but it's a bit shorter, but still it's long to play a tennis match.
It certainly is. So Aryna Sabalenka, the women's champion, Jannik Sinner, the men's champion. Now, I was in Cincinnati before the US Open, covering the tournament, covering Jannik Sinner. I spoke to him on the Sunday when he won the title, not knowing that the next day we would have the revelations of the failed drugs test, and then he was completely cleared. And I think what came across with Jannik Sinner was how incredibly mentally strong he is to be dealing with all that through the months. He won more titles. he reached number one in the world. I think a lot of people, perhaps Cedric, questioned how he would be at the US Open with all the pressure, but he is so mentally strong.
You said it. Yeah, it looks like he's like super, super strong because first, of course, it was confidential, but he had to deal with it. And like it's like also a lot of pressure. Like maybe the next day you're gonna receive like a mail or letter or whatever, but you suspended. You cannot play, but still you have to practice. You have to be focused during your competition. And then when it went public, yeah, it's probably very hard to go through that experience, because then everybody's, I guess not everybody, but a lot of people are looking at you like not saying it, but like you did it or you didn't do it, like, and so I don't know which feeling you're having, if you feel guilty, if you feel embarrassed, but still you have to deliver on court, and it's what he did. And also during this US Open, as Djokovic and Alcaraz lost pretty early, I mean first week, he was designated as the favorite, so which is adding a bit of pressure.
So we talk about his mental strength, but Cedric, as a tennis player, what impresses you the most about the game of Jannik Sinner?
I think it's very complete. We could see that he's been improving on different parts of his game. He's like more able to change his way of playing during the match, like he did with Medvedev. He was coming in more, serving volley, seven volley. I think like a year and a half, 2 years ago, he was more like playing too much like a machine. Like he have power, he have a super pace, but trying too much to make a winner, and maybe he's starting to think differently about the game, about his game, and I think probably Darren Kyle helped him a lot on that part.
Well, let's have a listen to Jannik Sinner, who hasn't lost a final so far in 2024. 6 played, 6 won, the first player since 1977 to win both his first Grand Slam titles in the same year.
I believe that in Melbourne was a kind of relief, because in my mind, it was like I was working for it, and you never know if you can win one Grand Slam or not. But when you win one, you know that you can do it potentially.
Well, he certainly can. And a lot of it is about, we talk so much about belief in tennis players, but I imagine, Cedric, it's also the confidence. You know you can do it, and you take that confidence forward.
Oh, yeah. It's a journey, It's a journey to go to win the first major. Is like, sometimes it's happening like super fast, super quick, super young, like Nadal, like Bjorn Borg, like Boris Becker, Michael Chang, like 17, Mats Wilander, and most of the time it takes a couple of years for players to win the majors. And sometimes also you have like this example of Andres Gomez, Ivanisevic, Wawrinka. They win later during their career, which is like also super hard, because you've been around on the tour for, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years, and then suddenly, do you still believe you can do it? Like, so it's like everybody have a different path, but I think in average, it's much better to win when you're young, because of course you have a lot of seasons ahead of you to win more. And I mean, he won 2 already same year. So, and he's only 23. And as the players are playing longer now, I mean, you have a good 10 years ahead of him to do like a strong palmarès.
How many? And I asked my guests some question about this in New York. It was Feliciano Lopez and Tim Henman and Marion Bartley. And I asked them, how many Grand Slam titles do you think Yannick Sinner will win? So I put that to you, Cedric. How many titles? How many titles will he get?
I'm not a magician, but I have a funny story to say about it, because when Pete Sampras stopped his career with 14 majors, I didn't read it, but I heard he said, like, the guy who will beat my record is not born yet. And not so long after, he had 3 guys who not beat his record, but killed his record, like 14, and they are always 24 for Novak, 22, 20 for Roger. So it's very difficult to answer that question, and so many things can happen during a career. You can hurt yourself, you can be injured, but also, I mean, of course, when during the 90s, when someone was winning a major, he was like half a god. 2, wow. 3, you were god, and to have like 5, 6 was like something unbelievable. And now it looks like it's very these guys, what they achieved. I mean, the 3 guys, Djokovic, Nadal, and Federer, it looks like very common to win 10, 12, 15, 20, and also to keep the motivation, like to have this deep feeling inside you that you need to do more. You need to go back to practice and to win the 10th one, the 11th, 12th. So it's very, I don't know how these guys did it, because it's amazing to stay at that level for so many years. And still Novak, I mean, had for him like kind of a bad season, but we have to remember that last year he won 3 out of 4, and he was in final in Wimbledon against Alcaraz. So, and he was 36. So it's totally unbelievable. It's unreal, So, but I guess a guy like Sinner with his character, I think he will go over 10, yeah, definitely. And then who knows? God knows.
Yeah, all my guests went into double figures. And as we were talking about there, this is the first time in 22 years the big 3 didn't win a Grand Slam. Alcaraz and Sinner obviously splitting them between themselves. And Sinner was asked if it's the end of an era.
Well, it is a bit different for sure. I mean, it's nothing new, but it's also nice to see. Nice to see new champions, nice to see new rivalries. I always have players, and I will always have players who are gonna make me a better player, because there are gonna be times where they beat me. Then you have to try to find a way how to win against certain players.
I think what was really nice to see at this US Open was so many Americans doing well. And you've got the women, we mentioned Jessica Pegula, there's Coco Gauff, there's Emma Navarro, Danielle Collins this year. And on the men's side, to have Taylor Fritz in the final, beating Frances Tiafoe to get to the final. Tiafoe beat Ben Shelton. You've got 5 American men in the top 20. It's good to see them coming through, and it's good to see that competition.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's good, because they had a big gap, since Roddick, and even Roddick was okay. He's been number 1, he won US Open, but he was a bit alone, and so you have to go back to this golden era the 90s with all these guys, Sampras, Agassi, Chang, Kuril, Todd Martinow, I mean, all these guys. And I think United States is a big country and a big market. So it's very good for tennis to have top players back from the US. So yeah, it's definitely very positive. And also, it's you have the international competition, but also you have kind of a national competition. Who is the best player? Who's going to be number one US? So it's very good. It's a positive emulation.
And I must ask you about Jack Draper. We were very excited personally that he got to the semi-finals. Do you believe that he is a player who has everything in his game to reach the top and to be around for some time?
I mean, it's like 2 years, something like 2 years. Like I'm watching him playing, like from time to time. I think he have very interesting game, and I guess he have much more like okay, he's been injured a bit, but also a stronger belief in himself that he can do that kind of result. And you have a lot of players who, when you watch them playing, you say like, oh yeah, why? I mean, this guy is underranked. Like he could play much better. So there is probably something wrong somewhere. Like maybe it's the way he's practicing. He's not dedicated enough. He's not strong enough mentally. Who knows? But yeah, he's one of these players who have like the game, and if he keep working hard. And also I read that he looked like he was pretty close to Andy Murray, and if he can have some tips or advices from Andy, probably it will help him to speed up a bit the process, and to reach the top 10, and why not play something great, like doing majors or at Wimbledon, because you have really like a game like he can perform on grass.
Now, as we know, the tennis calendar never stops. There's always tennis around. And in just under 2 months, we're going to be going indoors in Bercy for the Rolex Paris Masters. Is your role there, Cedric, as tournament director? What can we expect from the competition this year?
Oh, listen, it's always an exciting moment. It's like the third year I'm a tournament director there. I'm not saying it's, of course, because of me, but it's like we have all the teams from the French Federation working for a tournament. But since I arrived, we are sold out 2 years in a row, and there is a good probability that we will be sold out this year as well. So on sports side, it's a Master 1000. So it's the opportunity for the players to take the last spots to qualify for the finals, ATP finals, and also for those who are already qualified. It's very good to come and to play matches for the confidence before Turin. So yeah, it's a big success. It's very popular. I mean, the people are enjoying it so much. And also there is a big kind of a big news, because last Gen we officially announced that in 2025 we will move from this arena in Bercy to which is east of Paris, to west of Paris, in a new arena called La Défense, which is much bigger. So it's very positive, and I think we will make the tournament growth for the next decade, let's say. And I think it's going to be fantastic next year. And also it's probably like something special in the atmosphere, because it's going to be the last edition in Bercy this year.
And I must ask, do you enjoy your role as tournament director? Because this year we've spoken to James Blake, Feliciano Lopez, Tommy Haas, and they enjoy it, but they say it's really, really hard work. And sometimes you get the phone calls from like players or friends asking for tickets, and you have to say no, and it can be quite difficult at times.
Oh yeah, so, it's like sometimes you have phone calls, or you receiving text message from people you didn't see for a year or 2 years. Suddenly, like how are you? I'd like to see you. By the way, I'm in Paris. Can I come? Can you give me free tickets? So yeah, but I think overall, I really enjoy this role, because it's very, very interesting. And I'm 55. I'm 55 this year. Of course, I stopped playing a while ago now, and I really found out that what interests me deeply was this mix between sports and business, and this is the perfect position, like to be with one foot with a sport and one foot with a business, and it's very very exciting. And it's a lot of going on now on the tour, so it's a fantastic role, and I think I feel blessed, like to be in that position.
Well, Cedric, we know you're really busy, so really appreciate you being on the podcast, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Gigi. It was a pleasure to spend some time with you.
And that's it from Courtside Conversations. Thank you also for your company. We'll be back later in the year after the WTA and ATP finals to round up what has been another busy season. So we'll see you then.